Welcome to Wonders Unveiled. Today we journey to ancient Ephesus in modern-day Turkey to delve deeply into the Temple of Artemis, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Over the next hour we'll explore this remarkable structure's history, architectural innovations, cultural impact, and lasting legacy. The Temple of Artemis, also known as the Artemision, was a monumental structure that was as much a religious site as it was a center of culture, commerce, and civic pride. Built around 550 BCE, it was funded by King Croesus of Lydia, whose wealth was legendary. But to fully understand why such a grand structure was dedicated to Artemis, we must first explore the figure of Artemis herself. Artemis was a powerful deity in Greek mythology, embodying several qualities at once. She was known as the goddess of the hunt, wilderness, chastity, and childbirth, protector of young girls, and twin sister of Apollo, the god of the sun. In Ephesus, however, Artemis took on an additional role as the goddess of fertility and abundance. The Ephesians revered her as the Lady of Ephesus, and her image was distinctly different from how she was depicted elsewhere in Greece. The city of Ephesus, located on the western coast of what is now Turkey, was an important port and trade center. Its citizens attributed their prosperity to Artemis, whose protective powers, they believed, blessed their lands and city. It was no wonder, then, that the people of Ephesus felt compelled to create a temple worthy of their beloved goddess. The Temple of Artemis wasn't the first temple built on this site. Before King Croesus's time, an earlier, smaller temple stood here, but it was destroyed, likely by floods or an earthquake. In response, Croesus commissioned a grander and more resilient structure, which would become the first of the temples dedicated to Artemis that would earn a place among the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Constructed in the Ionic architectural style, the new temple featured 127 colossal columns, each towering 60 feet high. These columns were arranged in a double row around the temple, creating an awe-inspiring perimeter. Many of the columns were intricately carved and painted, bearing reliefs of animals, gods, and mythological scenes, which added a vibrant artistic element. But the grandiosity of the Temple of Artemis was not only in its scale and decoration, it was also in its elevated platform. The architects raised the temple on a platform to prevent flooding, an engineering feat that demonstrated their advanced understanding of hydraulics. This raised foundation became a distinctive feature of the temple, setting it apart from other Greek temples and adding to its reputation as a wonder. For nearly 2 centuries, the Temple of Artemis stood as a beacon of Ephesian pride. However, tragedy struck in 356 BCE when a man named Herostratus set it ablaze. Driven by a desire for fame, he destroyed one of the world's great architectural marvels to immortalize his name. Ironically, he succeeded, as his name lives on to this day, albeit as a symbol of infamy. Legend has it that the night of the temple's burning coincided with the birth of Alexander the Great. Many ancient historians saw this as a mystical omen, suggesting that a new conqueror would rise as one of the world's wonders fell. Alexander would later go on to conquer Ephesus, and upon visiting the site, he offered to fund the temple's reconstruction on the condition that his name would be inscribed on it. However, the proud citizens of Ephesus declined his offer, choosing instead to restore the temple themselves. The second iteration of the Temple of Artemis was even grander than the first. The columns were more elaborately decorated, the walls adorned with sculptures by some of the finest artists of the time. Among them was Scopas of Paros, a celebrated sculptor who created statues of Amazonian warriors for the temple. These statues paid homage to the legendary Amazons who were said to have founded Ephesus and worshipped Artemis as their patron goddess. The temple was not merely a place of worship, but also a cultural hub. People traveled from across the ancient world to marvel at its grandeur. Pilgrims, merchants, and artisans flocked to Ephesus, where they could engage in trade, seek blessings from Artemis, and admire the artistic treasures housed within the temple. The wealth of offerings left at the temple by devout worshippers accumulated over time, making the temple one of the richest in the ancient world. At its height, the Temple of Artemis hosted an annual festival known as the Artemisia, a week-long celebration filled with athletic competitions, musical performances, and religious ceremonies. Pilgrims from far and wide joined the festivities, bringing offerings to honor the goddess. The Artemisia was not only a religious occasion, but also an economic boon for Ephesus, as it drew visitors who spent money on local goods and services. However, as Christianity spread throughout the Roman Empire, the influence of Artemis began to wane. In the early centuries CE, the temple faced another devastating blow when the Goths, a Germanic tribe, invaded and sacked the city of Ephesus, destroying the Temple of Artemis in 262 CE. By this time, the rise of monotheistic religions was shifting the cultural and spiritual landscape, and Artemis, once the revered goddess of Ephesus, was gradually forgotten. By the 4th century, the temple had been abandoned. Emperor Constantine, the first Christian Roman emperor, built Constantinople nearby, and Ephesus's importance as a cultural center declined. Eventually, the temple's stones were repurposed for new buildings, including Christian churches. The once grand Temple of Artemis faded into obscurity, its memory preserved only in ancient texts and the legends passed down through the generations. The temple's final rediscovery came centuries later, in 1869, when British archaeologist John Turtle Wood, after years of searching, uncovered the temple's ruins. His discovery ignited a resurgence of interest in Artemis and Ephesus, revealing glimpses of the once grand temple and the people who worshipped there. Today, only a single reconstructed column stands at the site, a modest reminder of the temple's former glory. Despite its physical absence, the legacy of the Temple of Artemis endures. It remains a symbol of ancient devotion, artistic accomplishment, and the resilience of the people of Ephesus. Even in ruin, it stands as a testament to the cultural and architectural achievements of the ancient world, inspiring artists, historians, and travelers alike. The Temple of Artemis at Ephesus was more than just a building. It was a cultural and spiritual epicenter, a place that brought people together, that inspired art and commerce, and that fostered a sense of unity and devotion. Today, as we look back on the ancient world, the Temple of Artemis reminds us of the heights humanity once reached and the rich history that continues to shape our world. Thank you for joining us on Wonders Unveiled as we explore the past to understand the wonders that shaped our civilization. Join us next time as we journey to yet another marvel from ancient times, uncovering its secrets and celebrating its timeless beauty.